You know, whenever we talk about the dangers of AI, our minds just automatically jump to science fiction, right? But what if the real warning, the one coming from a top pioneer in the field, has absolutely nothing to do with evil robots? The actual risk, as we're about to see, is something way more immediate, and honestly, it's already here.
Oh yeah, we all know this line. It's HAL 9000, of course, from 2001, A Space Odyssey. And man, it just perfectly sums up the fear that has pretty much defined our relationship with AI for what? Over 50 years now?
So yeah, this is the story we all know. The thinking machine that wakes up one day and decides humanity is the problem. And look, it makes for an awesome movie. But what if it's actually distracting us from the real challenge that's staring us right in the face?
Well, that pioneer is Dario Amodei. He's the CEO of Anthropic. We're talking one of the most advanced AI labs on the entire planet. And here's the kicker. His big warning, it has nothing to do with AI's intent. It's all about its speed.
Okay, so this whole idea of speed, this is really the core of what Amodei is talking about. He calls it the mismatch of speed. The problem isn't that AI is going to turn evil. The problem is that it's getting powerful so much faster than we, as a society, can possibly keep up.
And that creates this huge growing gap. Think about it. On one hand, you've got AI tech just exploding, improving at this exponential rate. And on the other hand, you've got us, our human institutions, our laws, our economies, our social norms, all of which are designed to change slowly, very deliberately.
It's almost like there are two different clocks running at the same time. You've got the human clock, right? It ticks along at the pace of elections, legal changes, the slow shift of culture. And then you've got the AI clock, and that thing is ticking at machine speed. It's relentless, it's accelerating, and its power is basically doubling every few months. They're completely out of sync.
You know, the crazy thing is, we've seen this movie before. This isn't a totally new problem. It's just a much, much faster version of it. Back in the 40s, nuclear physics blew past our ability to handle diplomacy, and that led to an arms race. And just look at the 2010s. Social media went global before we even had a clue what it was doing to our democracies. But with AI, that gap between what it can do and what we know how to manage, it's shrinking at a terrifying rate.
So what's the first big, tangible consequence of this speed mismatch? Well, Amodei calls it economic time compression.
Okay, let's look back at history for a second. Think about the big economic shifts. Going from farms to factories, that took generations. Moving from factories to offices, again, that unfolded over decades. And that slow pace gave us time. Society, our schools, our families, we had time to adjust.
Now, try to imagine all of that. Every single one of those massive economic shifts from the last 200 years, but squeezed into less than a single decade. I mean, that's the kind of force we're talking about with AI. There is literally no playbook for this. We have never seen this level of economic disruption happen this fast.
And hey, don't think for a second this is some far-off theoretical thing. It is happening right now. In jobs we always thought were safe. We're talking coding, law, marketing, even healthcare. Yeah, we call them assistants or co-pilots, but let's be real. They are fundamentally changing the DNA of these entire professions.
And that brings up a much deeper question, one that goes way beyond just a paycheck. For centuries, our jobs have been tangled up with who we are, right? Our identity, our purpose. So what happens if AI completely separates productivity from human work? How do we find our meaning then? It's a huge societal question, and honestly, we are not ready to answer it.
So if the big problem here is speed, then the solution's going to sound, well, completely backwards, especially if you're coming from the tech world. Because Amodei's argument is that we don't need to go faster. We actually need to deliberately slow down. We need to build in some friction.
So what is intentional friction? Well, it's pretty much the exact opposite of the classic Silicon Valley playbook. It's about making a conscious choice, safety over speed, period. It's about baking the guardrails, the regulations, the ethical checks directly into the process from day one, not just slapping them on after something's already gone horribly wrong.
Look, this requires a total mind shift. We've got to get away from that old mantra, move fast and break things, where breaking society was just seen as, a side effect of innovation. The new way forward demands that safety and responsibility aren't just features. They have to be core, non-negotiable parts of the technology itself.
To really drive this point home, Amodei uses this really powerful and kind of humbling metaphor. He says that right now, humanity is basically in a state of technological adolescence.
Just think about it for a second. Like a teenager, we've suddenly got all this incredible power. It's like we've been handed the keys to a ridiculously fast car. But our wisdom, our judgment, our self-control, yeah, that hasn't caught up yet. So we're in this really awkward, clumsy, and super high-stakes phase where the potential to make huge, irreversible mistakes it's incredibly high.
And this quote right here, this really gets to the absolute heart of it all. The biggest mistake we could possibly make is just assuming that wisdom magically appears alongside new abilities. It's this idea that, hey, we built the smart thing, so of course we're smart enough to control it. But history tells a very, very different story. Wisdom isn't invented, it has to be learned, and usually the hard way.
Okay, so after all of that, what's the big takeaway? Amodei's message really isn't meant to make you panic. It's a call to grow up. The goal here is to swap out that panic for preparation, to replace all the crazy hype with some thoughtful, deliberate action. And that really leaves us with the defining question of our era. And the choices we make, like right now in this weird teenage phase of our technology, those choices are going to decide the answer. Are we going to treat intelligence like a tool, something we have to learn to use with care and wisdom? Or are we just going to let it become this runaway force that completely outpaces us, reshaping our whole world before we even get a chance to figure out what's happening? The clock is definitely ticking.